Welcome back to our dinghy project. Today Jim is going to do the fitting of the seats, and hopefully we'll get a coat of paint on the rails so that we can get this project wrapped up before we head to Florida.
So we're looking at refinishing the seats. This is the underside of the seat, and you can see how they've recessed these nuts for some reason. I'm really kind of at a loss as why they would do that. It's a little bit of noise. We have our buddies here, metal boat, which needs some severe work. He's putting in new pieces, and this is our other buddy,
Solo from Denmark, her boat.
This is Enchanta, which needs some work too, but in this case it's a huge boat, so it needs a huge amount of work. But anyways, this is our workbench. Be back in a bit. This is strictly damage control. We're out of time. We've got to get down to Florida, so this is the bottom. It's not going to be beautiful. This is the top, which wouldn't take a lot of work. It wouldn't take a little bit to clean it up and make it look acceptable instead of embarrassing. And then when we have time and inclination, we'll have to get to the rest of it. We've got a lot of other stuff here too. There are 3 spars, some very neglected oars, and then the other seat here, which I'm having real trouble sourcing the bronze fasteners. So this is the forward seat in the dinghy. This takes lots of loads. The mast goes through here, so this is trying to do this all the time, and sometimes the loads are pretty extreme. These are the same brackets that are on the other seat, 4 of them. They were just screwed into the rail, and not even with large screws. So I think we're gonna beef that up some more. You can see all these are a little loose. This one's missing, but we're having, like I said, we're having real trouble sourcing the bronze bolts that go through here. So I've got stainless ones that fit. It's wrong, but at least it'll work. The rest of this, they're just really bizarre, odd things about it, what they had done, and typical of a boat that's been around for years and years and gone through different owners
Iterations with
and different
owners
levels of competency.
Right.
This is the flotation for the front of the dinghy, which is kind of nice. The dinghy won't sink. If you're frostbiting, you might freeze to death.
Yeah.
But they'll find the body.
Good.
So anyways, and this is, I know I'm going to lose street cred for this, but this is just what we call a slop coat. It's just to protect the wood until we can get to it, disassemble this, fix it, do it all properly.
Do it right.
Yeah, do it right. Amazing. Nobody does that, but I can't really point my finger at anybody right now, can I? Basically, we just want to make sure water doesn't get in here, and then also protect it from the sun, especially down in Florida.
Right.
Now we're going to start the spars, and the oars are really a mess, to the point where they're checking and you can get slivers off of them.
Yeah, that needs some epoxy.
And then some mechanical work too. Here, this is the boom, and this mast goes here, and there's leather that goes in here. That's gone. So I've got to pull all these nails out and make up some new. We have the leather actually. This piece, I guess, is just sitting in there. What is that? The Cunningham. It's where the main comes in. I forgot what that was called.
I can't even picture
Anyways,
how it goes together right now.
There's a funky piece of leather that comes here, goes down to one piece, and it's really odd how they did this, but this is so that it doesn't grind against the mast. You can see where they use duct tape here.
To fill in that hole.
Yeah, because the hole's too big for this mast. So the lines
are a mess.
Well, I kind of like them when they're like this.
I'm sure you do, sweetie.
Yeah, well, you know.
They have character.
Well,
like
it reminds me of my childhood. I won't go into that. The hardware is all mixed and matched. It's stainless, old blocks, new blocks.
Double block where you need a single block.
It works, so that's the important thing. think we're gonna we'll just do a quick slurp on this.
Yeah.
This should have been done,
That
and it
should have
looks
been
like there
done.
was something coat on it.
Yeah.
And this is where the flotation foam touches. So this
Right.
seems to have a lot of humidity in here, and it seems pretty good. Hasn't been rotted. Somebody sealed this
Yeah,
though.
I see that. It
Yeah.
looks like they did some good epoxy
And tape.
and tape.
So we'll just
Do that
put a
next.
coat on and
Go from there.
well, and don't say we fixed it
No, say
because
we
it's not fixed.
got it
Anyway.
so that it won't deteriorate anymore.
I don't even think this is varnish. I believe this is Cetol, but I'm not sure.
It
Cetol's
looks
a
kind
different
of orange.
finish.
Yeah.
It looks like orange. It has its good and bad points. The bad point is mostly it looks awful. It's just the ugliest stuff. A beautiful piece of, this is Sitka spruce, but teak or spruce or
Right.
cherry. If it's got a nice coat of varnish on it, there's nothing prettier.
Right.
Excepting for my honey.
Good save. Good save.
So anyways, we'll get to some o-ring here. Today we're going to show you how not to do varnish. We just have to quickly get some varnish on. This is an old can of Epifanas. Just call it Epis. It's very expensive, $60 just for this. Standard mineral spirits to reduce it down so it isn't as thick, because it comes pouring out of there like molasses. Typically I'll put this in there and then put the mineral spirits on top, and then I do something that you're never ever supposed to do with varnish, and that is mix it, shake it. The reason you don't do that is because all the crap that's in here will settle out on the bottom, and if you mix it, it ends up on your work. So, but I can do this because all this is clean. The jar is clean, the varnish and mineral spirits. But that's the only time you're ever going to shake varnish. When I see somebody going like this with their varnish, you steer clear. Okay, so
Now you need the mineral spirits though to.
Yeah, you do need the mineral
thin
spirits.
it.
This is like molasses. It's wonderful. This is the best varnish in the world. This, McCruskey's. I'm not a big fan of the Interlux products. At any rate, what Donna's going to do is she's going to varnish the seats. Typically what you do is you do the best stuff, the surfaces you'll see. You do those first because your varnish hasn't been contaminated. As soon as you varnish like this, you're going to pick stuff up on the, we're using foam brushes today. You're going to pick stuff up on here, put it back in there, and then you're going to have little blops in here. And you'll lay this out, it'll look great until it dries. And then it looks like Mount Everest, even though they're just little micron level little bumps and insects and everything else stuck in there. Anyways.
Normally we take all the hardware off, but because of the way they put these on with captured nuts on the bottom, it's nearly impossible to get them off. And so since we're trying to do just a quick stabilize the wood, keep it good for our season, we'll deal with it another day. We're going to leave it on.
And you can see, as soon as you put your coat on, oh my God, it looks so much better. Well,
oh, it is. It'll look better. Not great. It'll look better.
Right.
And it stabilizes the wood. It protects it from the sun.
but you can see, normally to do this right, you take the hardware off, varnished underneath, and that would protect it. You wouldn't get the wood wet like you normally, like this probably is, although these had a very thick coat of varnish on it.
Yeah.
This is not, it's not beautiful. You can see like here on this edge, the varnish had failed. And if you were really a craftsman, you would come through and clean all that up and take it all the way down to the wood. Sometimes people go crazy and they take it way, way down. And then you just ground all your wood away because they don't know what they're doing. You see that all the time. And then varnish, you don't paint varnish. It's not paint, it's varnish. You typically you'd use lots of thin coats. If you have a void, it's called a holiday.
Like there too.
Oh yes, dear. It's nice to have the sun behind you,
Yes.
and you can see. And if you make a pile like this, you may not see it. I hope you can see that.
Yeah, it's a
See
big
that?
blob.
It'll dry and then get all wrinkly, and it's called an alligator. So I love varnish. I love doing varnish. I love the way bright looks. And then, but there's plenty of ways to do it right. Yes, dear.
I know,
Yes,
but I can
dear.
see it. I'm in the perfect
All right.
spot.
Okay, well, you're going to finish all of these. We got to
Okay.
do the two seats, the oars that are
Oars
going to
over
look
there.
absolutely atrocious, but they're ash and, well, let's take a look real quick.
We did some work on them, but we didn't.
We found these somewhere. They were sitting under the dock because we don't really have storage, and you can see how this is checked.
That's what the cracks is checking.
It's not, if these were really nice oars, this would be perfectly straight grain, but I don't know anybody that actually does that anymore. This had broken, bad varnish on it. The most important part is here where you put your hand and you're doing this. But you can see this isn't pretty.
Yeah, if
we had time, you'd take it down, but
but
the sad fact is the oar is in bad shape anyways. Well, medium bad. It's not checked, it's not broken. Not sure what that is. And this is all one piece too. This hasn't been laminated. You know, sometimes they'll glue bunches of wood together. This is all one solid piece.
Very nice.
It's a heavy oar, but it's a very nice oar. So we're just going for longevity right now. We'll goop this up, and hopefully it won't get wet and rot or degrade in the sun, because those are the two things
the
you're worried
biggies.
about. And we'll put half a dozen coats of varnish on,
Right.
and that's about it.
All right, I better get to
The
it.
adventure begins.
Or continues. The edge here is looking much better. We got a little bit of varnish on top of the patches that Jim put in. And hopefully that'll keep this in decent shape for our trip in Florida.
Sorry, were you filming?
Yes, dear. Mr. Positive. Jim is now dry fitting the seats. He's had to re-drill some of the holes, which were
Epoxy them shut.
well, epoxy them first. Good point, love. Epoxy them first and then re-drill them. And once we get it so that it fits properly, we'll have to remove them again and then finally do the final finish on the gunnels and then the final placement.
That wasn't pretty.
Why not? Too small?
No, it's just mushy wood.
Mushy wood.
This is white oak. It's pretty sturdy stuff.
But not after
No, this
decades.
is why, whether I'm doing carpentry or fine carpentry, cabinetry, or writing code, I'd rather just do my own thing rather than try to fix somebody else's mistake.
Jim actually has a piece of tape on the drill which helps him guide how deep to go into the wood.
Because you can show them here if you want. These screws, these are old-fashioned screws. They have they have a shoulder on them. I think that's what that's called.
Without
so yeah, it's which is actually better, because a lot of times with the what they call self-tapping screws, you can break them very easily.
right. So this gives it added strength
Right.
where it's
But
needed most.
you have to do another, you really should do another drill to make sure the shoulder isn't too tight in the wood.
Right.
So it's just a little bink. These holes are so awful that probably doesn't matter anyways. All right, so let's see if these line up and go in nicey nice.
Need some help there?
Yeah, if you can get those brackets.
Yep.
And there's, it's not like it doesn't have enough free room here.
Yeah, they are rather wobbly, but since those pieces of brackets are through bolted and you can't get to the bolt, for now we'll leave them floating a little bit.
it's kind of a nice system. One of the problems with a dinghy like this is it's very flexible. And what they've done here, instead of putting a cat here to support this, they support it on these brackets, which is very nice.
Yeah.
Very expensive, because the brackets, I don't know, to buy them, I think they're over $100 each.
Right.
They're cast bronze.
And we had trouble getting the screws. You don't want to mismatch the types of materials.
Right, these are what are called silicon bronze. It's very tough. It's really a superior metal, much nicer than stainless steel. The only problem is the price. They're several times what the stainless is. There's lots of cheap stainless out of China. Some of it's actually usable, some isn't quite so usable.
Half of it is magnetic when it's not supposed to be.
Right, and stainless can have a little bit of magneticity to it.
Magnetism.
But it shouldn't be really magnetic.
No.
All right, well, this one's
So those fit.
good. Well, the screws that were in here were 8s before, and these are 10s. I want to size up just because, and I also made them longer. I wanted them to go through the fiberglass, to pick up the fiberglass, because the wood is not as strong as it was, what, 40 years ago?
Yeah, we don't know the exact age of this dinghy, but we suspect that it's vintage, shall we say. Much like ourselves. Right, honey?
So those went in nice and tight. I gooped these with epoxy and junk.
Nice.
To hopefully, so this will be okay. And this seat's not such a problem because it's got this support.
Yes, extra
on here.
Whole
Thing's a little. Whole thing's a little screwy, but
yeah, it works.
And then I'll see if I can get some screws. Those are 8s again. Anyways, and then this part it was screwed in, which I can't fathom because with the rig on this, the mast, there's 2 mast sections. There's upper and lower, and even the lower one's heavy. And then if somebody's really cranking this while they're sailing, like you, bury the rails Gambino.
Yes.
I can't imagine that it would hold up.
Right, because of the loads of the wind on the sail.
I'm talking about like a angry little kid pulling on it, the equivalent, you know.
Right.
So move over to the other
The
side.
forward seat doesn't have any support underneath it, so Jim has put some clamps in to hold it in place for now until he can drill the holes for the screws that hold it in place.
We have bolts, and I can put bolts in, and if I had any sense, I'd probably do that. I filled the holes with epoxy. I think I will do that, but the bolts will come through and then the nuts will stick out the other side.
Can you turn them around so that...
Not really.
No.
No. See, this is countersunk here.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't impede the boat on when it hits something.
Well, it's going to have a cover over it. It's the only thing.
Right.
And if that's a problem, then I can always countersink them in here, but the wood isn't all that great to start with. I don't really want to start reducing diameters and things if I can help it.
Okay, we finished dry fitting. I forgot to take a picture before we took it apart, but the next step is to prep the gunnels for painting. So all that takes is a magenta pad and just to rough up the edges a little bit so that the paint will stick nicely. Doesn't take very long. What do you think, sweetie?
I think we're doomed.
We're doomed. Doomed.
So Donna is painting. This is Bright Sides paint. It's expensive. It's made by Interlux. It's about $40 a quart. And Donna's just carefully ladling it on so we don't get it on the dock. Our neighbors just went out and they're coming right back, so we have to be careful. You know what? We should probably be doing the other side.
Do the other side first?
Well, then we'll move it over. I don't know. Let's not worry about it.
We can do that.
Yeah, but you have to be considerate of your neighbors, if for no other reason they get upset when they can't get to their dock lines. Well, unless they have wearing white.
Oh yeah.
You end up turning your neighbors white. Anyways.
Yes.
So and she's trying not to get paint in the holes where all the hardware goes,
There.
because it just makes it a little bit more complicated. Would you want a brush with bristles instead of the sponge?
What do you
The
think?
bristle, it's just if you have lots of holes to get into, the bristle brush ones are better. The problem with a bristle brush, they're called China bristles. They're just, brushes are just junk. They make such a mess. The little hairs come out of them, and I've spent more time pulling the hairs out of varnish than I've spent varnishing it. It's very messy. Anyway, and typically you wouldn't be taking paint right out of the can like this. You'd pour some into a cup and then close the can up right away. Sometimes you'd even put a little bit of mineral spirits on the top, because the stuff it'll polymerize, it'll dry and go hard. Anyways, I don't know if you want to sit here and watch us paint, and by that I mean watch Donna paint.
Watching paint dry.
Yes.
As exciting as watching paint dry.
Okay, all right.
You get the idea. Well, here she is with her first coat of bright sides on the gunnels. Not the prettiest job, but we're going to cover it anyway, and I just want to protect it, and it should keep it in good shape. And have to put on another coat or two. She's getting there.
So the seats are in. I used oversized screws and filled some of these holes with epoxy, and hopefully that'll be okay. The wood here was so rotted, we actually through bolted. Got some bronze 1024 bolts, and then bronze nuts, and then I just knocked these down. We cut the ends off with a hacksaw, and the wood is so soft they're embedded into it, so I really doubt they're going to become loose. And then now we're going to put on this very expensive gunnel guard. It's a piece of foam with an outside on, made out of nice thick woven polyester, and it fits like this on the top and then the side around the gunnels, like that. And it's a bit of a pain. It's expensive, but it's very nice for hitting things and bonking things. And these don't stick out very far. I'm not worried about a problem there. But the seats are in. They look okay. I had to use different screws. If we were really good, we probably would have cleaned this up, but we got to get this done.
And they're not too bad.
And it's, what do we usually call it, the 100-foot rule?
Yes, it looks okay from about 100 feet away.
Yeah. Still got to put the oar locks on. I'm not sure I want to put them here. I row a little bit differently than most people. I have a real deep, far forward, far back, and this is actually getting kind of close to the person that's sitting here. What I really need is a better seat to sit on here.
Right about there, yeah.
And then that would put the back of my calves would be here. So I don't know. We can work that out anytime. But right now, since we got to get going, because we're out of here in just a couple days, I'll put this on. Here, come on along, come on into the back. We'll have to figure out where we want to put this here.
Right.
Probably something like that.
There.
And typically what somebody will do is they'll cut a piece out of here, but I hate doing that with this. It's woven polyester, and you have to heat seal it properly.
Or else it does that.
Yeah, or it'll do that. Yes. Boy, you're good. You're really good. So anyway. So we're starting to put the rub rail on. It's very nice and flexible, so you can move it a lot. Over here we've got, these are number 6 screws, 1/2 inches, what they recommend. They seem like they're a little short. And then stainless finish washers, which is what we're using here. These are actually these are a little larger. These are finish washers for size 8 screws, but I just had a ton of them, so I'm going to use them up.
Why not?
So eventually this will all come around.
That looks good.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
Yeah, I think that'll be lovely.
Yeah.
So Jim is marking off every 4 inches.
We're doing 4-inch centers on these. They say either 3 or 4 inches, but they're
That looks fine.
I think that's okay. If it really is going to get a lot of work, then we'll do something else. And
Right.
I still have to put in the oarlock sockets go here, but I think I'll come back and revisit that because I'm not sure what we're going to do. I'll put it under here somehow like that, and then just cut out for where the oarlock goes through.
That sounds good.
And what we'll do is we try to pull it tight and then clamp it, so now you can work at it. You don't have to pull it while you're working on it. And then when I get up to here, I'll pull it real tight and we'll move this down until we go all the way around. And I think what we're going to do, because we have to also fasten them underneath, but it's a little awkward. You'll have to sit on your butt and do it like this. I think we're going to do these. It looks pretty stable. In other words, this part doesn't shift around, and then we'll just flip the boat up and then do it. It's a lot easier that way. All right. We're not bothering to
Drill.
we're not bothering to pre-drill because it's soft. The wood is kind of gooey. This would be the right drill for a pilot for the number 6 screws, but we won't worry about that right now. They're going in. It's not splitting the wood. This whole thing's a cluster, you know what, anyway, so I think we'll just leave it at that.
In order to do the underside of the gunnel guard, we turned the boat on its side, tied it to the trawler so that this area is more exposed.
And then we're marking 4-inch centers. Roughly, they don't have to be perfect. If they line up with the ones on the other side, then you're a genius. That hardly happens with us.
Or you can say you put them off center so that they don't have
That's right.
the
It
same
didn't
point of load.
Load the wood. There you go. So, just roughly, most people wouldn't see it if it was out by a huge amount.
You would.
Any real craftsman looks at it and goes, "Oh my God, who did that?
Was that Doyle?
He's not sitting at our table." So anyway, so 4 inches, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20.
At the end of the day.
You know, it's really bad when you're tired and you go, "Oh, I put that at 3 inches instead of 4 inches." And then you look, every time you look at it, you cringe. Nobody else will ever know. The archaeologist that digs this up in 1,000 years won't know. But
Well,
I will know. I'll lay in bed at night going, well, you know, I could just get out there before work. And we're still, this end, this was very nice. The piece came with a sewn end on it. I don't know if you can see it, but it's been folded over and then sewn very nicely. But of course, it didn't on this end. So what we'll do is we'll cut this longer than it has to be. Then we'll take out the foam inside, then we'll fold it inside of itself, and then put screws in it so it won't look awful.
And it'll capture the loose end.
Yeah, that too. All right. One thing you can do, you always want to get this as tight as possible, is you push the tip in, and I have a new bit here, so it sticks in the number 6 very nicely, and then I can take it and pull the whole thing down. If you didn't do that, it'd be very difficult to get like a pair of dikes on here and pull on it or something, and then you just drive it in. And this one hits some rot.
Number 1?
Now let me take a look.
I mean 1 inch. Yeah. Try next to it.
Yeah. And none of this is in great shape. So Donna's handing me
I didn't do that one right.
one of these at a time correctly.
Not that time.
And like so, which takes the most time, by the way. Then if you can see if you can see That's my line. And I'm going on about in the center. Grab it, pull it down, and then hope there's some wood on the other side. So but it makes it pretty tight. We're done for the day. The corner is a little tricky, and we're both tired. We ran around. I got new car tires and all sorts of other things. So I think we're gonna leave this for now. I think I'm gonna double up the screws in the bow, because that always takes a hit. And it's, as you know, and you've been sworn to secrecy, you're not gonna tell anybody how awful this is. Anyway, what was I saying?
I still think it looks pretty darn spiffy.
It looks okay. Let's see if it holds together. It's kind of sad. We were looking at another guy who was using strips of starboard for the in-wales and out-wales to finish up the gunnel.
Which I thought was a neat idea.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not the original, but
you could also use a heat gun to heat it and bend it, which is real nice.
yes.
So here she is in all her glory. Didn't come out perfect, but it's probably acceptable. Don't show them the new corner. Don't show them that.
I'll go quickly.
And
You didn't see anything.
we're using our dock box as supports while we work on it, which is not so great if your neighbor comes by and wants to get around. But we have some pretty nice people here right now. So we're going to come back and probably do some more work. The marina is supposed to haul us today. So
Haul the big boat here.
haul the big boat, and then we'll drag the little boat up on the dock box and walk it over,
Cart.
because this is going to go cart box. And then we'll put this thing on top of the car and drag it down to Florida. I should have taken up golf.
Well, we've finished up here, and I think she's looking pretty good. Jim has tied all the spars and the oars and a few fishy poles to it. And our next step is to put it on top of our car and drive it 1,500 miles down to Florida to our other boat that we live on in the winter. So we'll let you know in some future updates how it all works out. In the meantime, here's Blue Moon, hauled out for the Connecticut winter, and that's where we're living for a couple of days until we have our things all packed up and we drive south. Thanks for watching. Click like if you enjoyed it. Bye.